I'm worried that society is failing, and I want to start growing my own food. Do you think it's possible to be self-sufficient?
Yes, it's perfectly possible.
So it's quite easy then.
Throughout history, millions of people have grown their own food and kept their own animals. There are many people, in poorer countries who still do this. But that doesn't mean it is easy.
I don't want to keep animals. But if there's a collapse of society, then I plan to grow my own vegetables. If lots of people do it, then why isn't it easy?
Well, to start with, if there has been a collapse of society, then you will be forced to grow your food organically.
Organic food is better for you though. Isn't that a good thing?
Yes, it is. Organic food is much better for you than non-organic. But even the vegetables sold in the supermarket, which are labeled organic, are often not what people think. Some chemical fertilizers and pesticides are considered benign, and are allowed to be used in controlled amounts, while the grower keeps their organic status. For instance, the use of copper sulfate as pesticide. In the absence of any support systems from the larger society, in the long term you will have to farm using completely natural means.
So my crops may get attacked by pests? Is there anything I can do to stop this?
Yes, you can reduce this problem by growing different varieties of the same plant. Different diseases affect different varieties. For instance, if you are growing one variety of potato, you risk losing the entire crop to disease. If you are growing 10 varieties, expect to lose a percentage to disease every year, but you will always have some of your crop that is unaffected. You can reduce your chances of losing crops to pests and diseases by using older, traditional cultivars of vegetables. These varieties were developed before widespread availability of pesticides, and so were bred to be more resistant to pests and diseases. They are more hardy.
So modern varieties are no good then?
Some are useless as they are hybridized, and will not produce fertile seed for you to grow a crop from in the following year. Much modern seed is like this. It makes more profit for the seller if you have to buy new seed each year. However, modern varieties that are fertile are still of use. The first crops you produce may not be so successful, but, in time, they will adapt to the conditions they are in, and they will cross-pollinate with other plants of the same species that are growing in the locality. Natural selection, plus selective breeding, will develop a more hardy strain of plant.
So, I just plant them, water them, and replant seed from the strongest plants.
Yes, you need to do those things. But there is more to growing your own food than that.
What else should I know?
You will need to feed the soil with compost, and you will need to keep your plants free of competition from weeds. The soil must be dug and kept loose enough for your plants to grow easily and produce good crops. You must make sure they have enough water, and also that the soil drains well. You'll have to remove pests by hand, or find ways to deter them. When a crop is ready to harvest, you will have more than you can eat. You will need to work quickly and think of ways to store it or preserve it. Otherwise, the crop will be wasted.
Gee, that sounds like a lot of hard work. I'm not sure if I can keep up with doing all those things. Why is it so hard to grow vegetables when the weeds grow easily?
This is because the weeds exist in harmony with natural processes, whereas you would be fighting against nature.
Is it not possible to grow crops in harmony with natural processes?
Yes, this can be done. It's possible to grow crops with much less work, and to be much more sustainable in the process. This is sometimes referred to as permaculture. But it requires more skill, and a greater understanding of plants, how they interact together, and how they affect the soil. You need to understand the ecology of your farm.
What do you mean? Why is the ecology important?
All living things have an effect on the other living things around them, either directly or indirectly, and you need to consider this in order to avoid problems. The soil itself contains many living things. The soil is alive. For instance, imagine you are growing a crop of wheat. You harvest the grain and trade the hay with a neighbor who needs it to feed livestock. Nutrients will be removed from your soil with each crop grown, and it will be hard work to replace them. Life in your soil starts to die. With modern strains of wheat, several crops can be grown in one year, and this means nutrients are lost quickly. Even with chemical fertilizers, soil depletion is a serious problem for farmers all over the world.
How do I stop soil depletion then?
Different plants have different effects on the soil. One plant may take a certain nutrient, and another may add that nutrient to the soil. Traditionally, before modern agriculture, farmers would grow one crop in the first year, a different one in the second year, and leave the field to nature in the third year.
Leave it to nature. Wouldn't the weeds take over?
Yes, and it would be hard work preparing the soil for crop planting the following year. But weeds are very good at drawing nutrients from deep underground, and are the most efficient way to keep soil healthy.
I thought permaculture was supposed to make the work less hard.
That is traditional farming. In a permaculture system, you aim to use your land more efficiently. You apply these principles, but on a smaller scale, growing and rotating your crops in small areas. And wherever possible, you allow nature to assist you.
Allow nature to assist me?
Yes. Some plants may provide nutrients for each other, and so thrive if grown together. This is when you start to find a natural balance. The perfect system would be in balance with the surrounding natural ecology. The closer you are to that balance, the easier things will get. With a healthy ecology, soils will be healthy, pests will be controlled by natural predators, and diseases will be less prevalent. Birds and animals may come and eat your crops, but, just like us, they don't like to eat the same thing all the time, so if there is variety, they will eat other things too. Just don't let them destroy your crops completely. Birds are especially useful if your farm is in an environment poor in nutrients. They can fly hundreds of miles between meals. When they visit you, they will leave droppings. They're flying soil fertilizers. If your soil is poor, encourage them by allowing their favorite food plants to grow.
What about keeping my soil well drained though?
With a healthy ecology, burrowing creatures and small animals, and creatures that live in the soil, will make this job much easier for you, plus they will fertilize the soil deeper down.
I can see that this all makes sense. But it sounds like it takes quite a lot of expertise.
Yes, there is much to learn about permaculture, and even the most knowledgeable people farming this way today are still learning. Much knowledge has been lost. Before modern agriculture, professional gardeners were very respected, and often well paid. When they changed employers, they would take their seeds, knowledge and methods with them. Not only that, they would even take the topsoil with them. However, you can develop this kind of specialist knowledge.
You mean I should go on a course to learn about it?
That would be helpful, yes. But you can also help yourself by understanding the principles of permaculture, and thinking in those terms.
What do you mean, understand the principles?
A diverse ecology is healthy. Grow many different crops and experiment. Understand that they have an effect on each other, and that they have an effect on, and are affected by, the natural ecology that surrounds you. You will need to pay close attention to how the ecology behaves. If you are dependent on what you grow for food, then you will slip into this mindset very easily. Your vegetable garden will be the most important part of your life, and you will naturally take an interest in it. Then, you will start to develop useful knowledge.
Develop useful knowledge.
Yes. Observe what is happening in your garden, and learn from it. Which plants prefer shade or direct sunlight? Which prefer dry or wet situations? Are there plants that thrive in each other's company? Perhaps some do better when protected by a screen of small trees. Think of those trees as a potential crop too, for fruit, nuts or wood. You may find climbing plants can be grown amongst those trees. Or perhaps you notice that a pond reflects heat onto an adjacent bank or hillside. Using such knowledge you can create warmer microclimates by creating more ponds. If you can create microclimates, then you may have some crops of the same sort maturing at different times, and so avoid the problems of having a glut of one type of produce. There are a great many possibilities, but most importantly, share your knowledge with, and learn from others, who are doing the same thing.
This sounds like an entire way of life in itself.
It is. If you grow your own food according to these principles, A certain human culture develops as a result. The term permaculture refers not just to permanent agriculture, but the sustainable human culture that develops from it.
I don't understand. Why would that happen with permaculture?
Because, whether we realize it or not, we as humans are part of the ecology.